Pam Bondi and Kash Patel have long been at odds with each other, but now they are engaged in an all-out war. And it looks like Pam Bondi is preparing to throw Kash Patel under the bus, which she essentially just did in a crazy post in order to save herself. She knows that someone has to go down, and clearly Dan Benino wasn't enough of a sacrifice. So Bondi is going all in and all out on getting Kash Patel the hell out of Donald Trump's administration. We are going to get into this MAGA civil war. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into how Pam Bondi is throwing Kash Patel under the bus, I want to start with what Robert Garcia is instructing those in the DOJ who also do not want to be implicated in these crimes to do, in order to make sure that Pam Bondi faces the accountability she deserves. It's what every Democrat should be saying. I'm glad Robert Garcia is right here to spend this entire period of time, last few months, claiming that you have the files ready to be released. Of the president, of course, the entire campaign saying they want to release the files, and then this all-out effort to hide them from the public, to stop the will of Congress, to not answer the oversight subpoena. What they need to understand is that there are hundreds and hundreds of FBI agents and others that are good American patriots that have worked to put these files together. They know what's in them. And I have also a message. I have a message to all of those FBI agents, all the good Americans that want transparency and justice. We, of course, are interested in talking to you. If you are a whistleblower at the FBI, at the Department of Justice, if you know and worked hard to put the files together and are seeing your work now being hidden by your own Department of Justice, contact the Oversight Committee. We have whistleblower protections. We want to make sure that the truth gets out, that the survivors are protected, and we are hearing from folks across our government who have seen or know what are in these files, and we want you to know that you will be protected. We want that information, and the American public deserve the truth. This should be the message from every single Democrat. If you are so much as getting Pam Bondi a cup of coffee, you are engaged. You are complicit in this criminal cover-up. Because as I will continue to say, Pam Bondi didn't break singular moment in time, the law. It wasn't like, oh, Pam Bondi broke the law, now we're all moving forward. Pam Bondi is actively breaking the law, and so is everyone else in the DOJ. Because I can promise you, she is not redacting these files all by herself. There is a team of Trump loyalists involved in this effort to fully cover up for him. So, everybody involved should be held accountable. So anyone involved should be prepared to be a whistleblower and call out all that is happening, because it is not just a one-man operation. And funny enough, that fact of it not being a one-man operation can also be applied to what they're covering up, Epstein's criminal cabal. But if you asked Kash Patel about that a few months ago, he would have given you a different answer. And it is this clip that Pam Bondi is using to, one, show that Kash Patel perjured himself, but two, throw him under the bus. So we got to check it out first. You've seen most of the files. Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself? And you said himself there's no credible information? None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And Kennedy, then the information we have again is limited. And Senator Kennedy said, the answer is no one. And you said for the information we have. So is it your testimony today that in all the Epstein files that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked no one to anyone but himself? Is that your testimony, Mr. I never said Jeffrey Epstein didn't traffic anyone else. Did he traffic any young woman to someone other than himself? That was Mr. Kennedy's question, Senator Kennedy's question. The information that 3 administrations have had access to have made determinations that there are no investigative leads that were credible to prosecute, investigate any others. I am specifically stating testimony today. You just read it, and I said it 10 minutes ago, so let the record reflect my testimony. Just want to make sure there's no misunderstanding, because there are victims like Virginia Guerrer who have testified otherwise, who have said otherwise, and you're telling the American people today that the Epstein list is a single name, and it's Jeffrey Epstein. That's what we're to believe. That's not what I'm saying. That's what you're saying. And whatever you let me ask, it is important to realize when we're talking about this cover-up that it is not just Donald Trump, and it is not just Donald Trump solely for the reason that if you are a billionaire pedo, you are one of Donald Trump's best friends, and that he will always stand up for criminals, sex criminals, Epstein, war criminals, Benjamin Netanyahu, Donald Trump just likes to surround himself with business criminals. Elon Musk, right? Those are the type of people that he likes to surround himself with. But he understands that if the other Epstein accomplices have their names and their crimes made public, it is a road leading you possibly to Donald Trump. And so Kash Patel wanted to say that there was nobody else involved, but now Pam Bondi is changing that tune. And it's very interesting why Midas Touch actually pointed it out after Pam Bondi posted this. Bondi wrote, "The Department of Justice previously stated, we will bring charges against anyone involved in the trafficking and exploitation of Jeffrey Epstein's victims. We reaffirm this commitment and ask any victim to come forward with any information pertaining to any individuals who engage in illicit activity at their expense. We have met with many victims and victims groups and will continue to do so if more reach out. Please contact myself, Deputy Attorney General Blanche or the FBI, and we will investigate immediately. We believe in the equal standard of justice in the country and will ensure that justice is being served." Midas Touch responded to this post writing, "Why did the FBI director say this? Reuters reporting that FBI Chief Patel says no credible information, as we saw others involved in Epstein's crimes." So Kash Patel, many months ago, in an attempt to downplay the size of this criminal cabal, so that we wouldn't look further into Donald Trump's crimes, said that there was no one else involved. The information that he had in that moment didn't really see anything else going on. The information pertinent to the investigation, Kash Patel said, it doesn't really seem like anything else is happening here. But they had the full Epstein file, and Pam Bondi admittedly said that it was on her desk. She reviewed it. Kash Patel said the same thing. Well, sort of. He said that he's gone through most of the Epstein file because the one issue he talked about most on podcast and said was going to be his chief goal as FBI director, of course, he wouldn't actually, commit to reviewing the materials. That would be crazy. That would, require him to not spend every single waking moment with his MS-ad agent girlfriend in Tennessee as she performs bad country music. I'm on a bit of a rant here, but you know what I mean. Kash Patel said that that's what he was going to be focused on. He hasn't. Kash Patel said that this was a big cabal. Now he says it isn't. But Pam Bondi, trying to maybe fix her pretty busted up approval rating or trying to divert attention away from Donald Trump, says, "Hey, we want you to let us know if there was anyone else involved in this trafficking or if there still is." So why is that? Well, the first reason that immediately comes to my mind is that Bondi wants another excuse to be able to say, well, we've gotten more information about other individuals involved in this trafficking. That is why we are going to slow roll this release. That is why we are going to stop sharing information, because now there's going to be an open investigation, right? They tried to do this, remember, with Bill Clinton, Larry Summers. They said, this is the reason why we're not going to release information. It didn't really seem to work. But if they can have a new story and a new narrative, maybe that's a direction Pam Bondi can go. But where does Kash Patel come into this, right? Kash Patel said he didn't have any information. Kash Patel said, I don't know. And now Pam Bondi is saying, not only is that not the case, not only was Kash Patel lying, so perjuring himself in front of Congress, but he was lying to such an extent that we need people to help us bring in this new information and expose the very individuals Kash Patel said didn't exist, the other Epstein associates participating in this trafficking. That is how far Pam Bondi is going to say that Kash Patel was lying. That is how far. So for me, it is because Bondi wants another reason to be able to shut down any further release of documents to slow roll this as much as possible. But also, if Kash Patel is proven, as it looks like Pam Bondi is in the kind of subtext of this, all implying to be of lie, to have been lying before Congress about the extent of a need for investigations, that's a great reason to put Kash in the old caboozer, give him the stinky boot. And that's what Pam Bondi wants. We know these two have been fighting through the entirety of the Epstein investigation through their criminal cover-up. They have been fighting. So if Pam Bondi has every reason to want to get Kash Patel out of there, and it looks like this is her move, looks like this is her trying to shift blame and pretend like she cares. This is obviously also an attempt to obfuscate and say, we've cared about victims. Look, we're reaching out. They don't care. If they did, they wouldn't be redacting the photos that Jamie Rassin was talking about right here. Nobody knows what happened, but I suspect somebody saw the photo there and demanded that it be removed immediately. So there would only be a handful of people who would have that kind of power to override what had been disclosed before, and there wouldn't be that many people who would be, I would say, irrational enough to think that that wouldn't be noticed. But beyond that, it's hard to know who's behind it. All right. Well, let's talk about the law which was signed by the president on November 19th, requiring the DOJ to release all unclassified Epstein materials within 30 days. And yet DOJ admits it's only a partial disclosure. There's more to come. And many of these documents were heavily redacted. I had my colleague print out some of them here. I mean, for those of you who haven't seen this, okay, this is Grand Jury, New York. Oh, that's good. Yeah, another one from Grand Jury, New York. Let's just do one more. Grand Jury. They're all like that. 119 pages worth from the New York Grand Jury filed, completely blacked out. Is this release a violation of the law? Could it be obstruction? And how do you interpret these redactions and whether they cross the line into unlawful concealment? It's absolutely a violation of the law because they were supposed to have turned over 100% of all the materials. And we know that they had been through them before because they told us back in July that they had thoroughly scrutinized all of the materials in the file and could not find any basis to think that there would be evidence upon which a prosecutor could make any other criminal cases. So we know they'd been through it. They'd also summoned something like around 1,000 FBI agents to pore over all those materials to look for Donald Trump's name and to redact his name and to bring to his attention whatever pictures, images, mentions, emails, texts there were. So they'd already been through it. It should not have been difficult for them to produce it according to the federal law, which was passed overwhelmingly by Congress and which Donald Trump purported to support. It is an obvious cover-up. It couldn't be more obvious, and we are going to be calling it out every single day on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Happy holidays to everyone. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. Merry Christmas. I hope y'all are excited to take in the new year. I am going to be, as I always do, watching When Harry Met Sally on New Year's Eve. That is one of my favorite traditions and especially meaningful this year. But I hope you all are enjoying the holiday season, and thank you for having me in your house as you do.